Hey, you know what I love? Five Nights at Freddy's. Sure, it may have caused damage to indie horror as a whole, the effects of which are still not fully recovered from, but let's not worry about that. Let's instead focus on the absolute quality that each of these games hold. It got popular for a reason. Each and every one of these games is packed with fun gameplay and a lot of charm. I mean, just try to name a bad one. You can't! Point taken. The question is, though, which one of these do I talk about? Really? Is there really not a better one to talk about? Alright, I'll take Sister Location. If you've been around in the FNAF community for a while, you would know the absolutely polarizing reception that Sister Location has. Often considered one of the worst games in the series. At least of the mainland games. Spin-offs are a different story. It wasn't always this way though, quite the opposite. It was actually considered one of the best when it was first released. I mean, what's not to love? As voice acting, it's semi-free roam, and brought the FNAF lore in a whole new direction. Is what people thought until somebody decided to actually play the game. Once you decide to play instead of watching your favorite YouTuber with dyed hair do it, you will find one of the least fun and most scripted FNAF games ever released. Most of what you're doing is waiting, and when you're not waiting, most of what you're doing is tedious. Take Night 2 for example. I'm using Night 2 because it's one of like 2 nights that aren't some weird exception. The only segments that you actually do something in Night 2 are these 3. You start by having to hold this wall to stop the biddy babs from entering. That's it, you just hold your mouse over a spot. Then next you have to sneak through Balora's gallery and stop when she's near. So the gameplay is just stopping when you hear music. So the gameplay is red light, green light. Then we get to the breaker room, which is no joke one of the least fun things in the entire series. You have to lift up this monitor and charge each place to 100%, but don't wait too long or else Funtime Freddy will get you. You need to call him back to his stage to avoid death, but oops, you took too long and now all the progress you made is gone. Better start again. This minigame takes forever to complete and is never any fun. Now, what I just described to you is the best night in the game. No, I'm not joking. While this night sucks, Night 1 is basically just a cutscene, Night 3 is just a little worse, and Night 4 is That leaves us with Night 5. Oh, Night 5. There are 2 main ways this night goes, a normal ending and a secret ending. And despite the opinion of others, I think both of these nights are garbage. We have the boring shortness of the main night and the unrelenting frustration of the secret night. Both of these combined lead to what I would consider the overall worst night in the series. Sure, Help Wanted has some stinkers, and some would argue the entirety of games like Security Breach are worse than this, but never have I had more negative things to say on a night than this one. Well, this intro's gone on long enough. Here's why Sister Location's 5th night is the worst in the series. Starting with... It only makes sense to start this review with our main canon ending. Don't worry, this won't take long. We start by going down the elevator, like the start of every other night besides Night 4. There's nothing to do in here, which is fine, it's just a little cutscene, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the epicness that is...
Exotic Butters.
Classic. Moving on, we go through the vent, again much like every other night besides Night 4, and make it to the main area. Here we check on Ballora and Funtime Foxy and... Damn. You know, for FNAF, this is pretty intense. Moving on, we have to make our way through Funtime Auditorium. However, there's no one here this time, just an empty room with no threats to avoid. We make it to the repair room, and Circus Baby starts talking. After a long monologue where she says a bunch of cryptic stuff, we open up a number keypad from her head. You then have to listen to what number she says, and click the corresponding button. If you don't answer fast enough, or press the wrong number, you're dead. Now guys, I have a confession. I played this on mobile. I know, that's the worst way to play these games, but shut up. Point is that this part, if I were to play on computer, would be close to impossible for me. I was born with very shaky hands, and trying to precisely click on these tiny ass buttons seems like a nightmare. Luckily on mobile they made the buttons bigger, so that's how I was able to pass this part consistently. Semi-consistently. I still died here like 20 times. Now some of you may be saying, 20? Sure, it can be a bit tricky, but it's not that hard, especially with mobile as a crutch. Do you just suck? Just you wait, I'll explain later. Anyway, moving on, we get to listen to Baby talk some more, then we send her off. We then go to this dark room where Circus Baby begins directing us through it. This part is boring. You just go in the direction she tells you and there's no challenge whatsoever. It's just not fun, I'm sorry. It goes on for like a full minute and literally all I'm doing is listening to a disembodied voice direct me through a black screen. Getting through to the other side, we listen to another monologue by Baby where she reveals that this was all part of her plan and now we're basically screwed. We get scooped and... That's it? Yeah, if you're doing the normal route of Night 5, there's virtually no gameplay whatsoever, which is just so incredibly lame. A Night 5 should be a final chance to show off everything the players learned, and instead this one comes out to a boring and incredibly short mess. Really, what did we do in this night? We entered a number combo and walked in a dark room. Woo. This almost makes you feel like you did something wrong. Like, did I miss something? Because there's no way that's all Night 5 has to offer. Okay, I mean, you did miss something, but that's just a non-canon extra challenge. That doesn't give the main night an excuse to be lazy. This is, far and away, the worst Night 5 in the entire series. It feels so anticlimactic. I almost feel like it would have made more sense to change the story around and have Night 4 be the ending. At least that one's a challenge. This one's only hard because I was born with shaky hands, okay? What is there to even say about this night? Its lore is semi-interesting? That's about it. Besides that, this night is absolutely nothing. So it's a good thing there's Ennard, because otherwise I'd be out of a job. Let's get to that, shall we? Now the secret ending is much more mixed in my opinion. As in, it's probably a 2 or 3 out of 10 instead of a 1. Before we even get to the night though, let's discuss how we get there first. Going back to that dark room, instead of going forward at the start, we go right. This leads to this message.
Access denied.
So how do we get access? Well, that can be seen in this minigame. Occasionally after death, instead of the game over screen, you'll be sent to this 8-bit circus baby minigame. Your goal is to feed cupcakes to every child, and you only have a limited amount of cupcakes to do so. There are also different types of cupcakes which each have a different shot type. Sounds simple, right?
Wrong!
Jesus, this minigame is strict as all hell. Because of how each kid is lined up, it means that there is one, and only one solution. This solution is so obtuse that it literally involves jumping over a cupcake type just to get to one extra kid. Oh yeah, there's a timer by the way, and even the world record, or at least the fastest time I could find, only had 6 seconds left. And remember, this only happens after death, and only happens sometimes, making this one of the most tedious grinds I've ever seen in a FNAF game. Or that would be the case. But there's one caveat. After you finish the game normally for your first time, you'll unlock the extras menu. If you click in the bottom left of this menu, you'll be sent straight to the minigame. Why? How is anyone supposed to find this without a guide? In fact, how did anyone find this in the first place? Screw 395248 or insanity. This is stupid. Even knowing that doesn't make this minigame free. It still took me like 20 attempts to figure it out, and I feel like I solved it pretty fast. I would not be shocked if someone said it took them upwards of 40 tries to figure this out because it's just that hard of a puzzle. Now, does this make it bad? Not necessarily. Just because a puzzle has a weird solution doesn't mean it's a bad puzzle. But this does. I kid, this isn't a terrible way to unlock the secret night. A convoluted one, yes, but not terrible. I'm just salty because it took me so long. Anyway, once we've beaten the minigame, if we head back to the access denied door, we get to enter and the true secret night finally begins. The night fades in and we're in a pretty traditional FNAF office. Hand unit comes online, promptly fires us, and tells us to stay put until 6 AM where we'll be rescued. Our mission is simple. Survive. We get on the cameras and... yeah, even I'm not going to deny that this is sick. This is Ennard, and he'll be our main enemy of the night. He is the combination of every Funtime animatronic, and is their best attempt at looking human. You know, they tried their best, that's what counts. After waiting for 30 seconds, Jesus, the night begins, and Ennard starts moving. Something that becomes immediately obvious is that each time he moves, a sound effect plays. Here's a couple as examples. You get the point, they all sound vaguely like metal squeaking. You're gonna have to get real used to these sounds if you want any chance of beating the night though. See, not only do these sounds play whenever he moves, but they also play directionally. On the right side when he moves right, and so on and so forth. This means that you're actually able to pretty effectively track him without using the cameras at all, which you will need, just trust me here. So basically, he starts in the back and slowly makes his way towards you. These cameras are basically useless, just ignore them. The ones that actually matter are these 3, since this is where he attacks you. The vent is easiest to explain, so let's start there. Basically, once he makes his way in, his next movement will be to this position. Once he's there, then his next one will be attempting to make his way into the office. Simply shut the vent when he's about to attack and you'll be fine. I guess I should also explain how movement opportunities work. Every time one comes up, he has a 50% chance to move and a 50% chance to stand still. This never changes throughout the night, but how frequently he gets movement opportunities does. At 12 AM, it'll be every 10 seconds, from 1 to 3 AM, it'll be every 6 seconds, at 4 AM, it'll be every 3 seconds, and at 5 AM, it'll be every 2 seconds. This happens without exception, except for if your power goes out, where it'll automatically switch to once every 0.5 seconds. So as the night goes on, he'll naturally get faster and faster, and when your power goes out, it's basically just an instant loss, unless you get insanely lucky. But that would never happen. So yeah, that's how the vent and movement opportunities work. Believe it or not, we're almost done with the night. Now we just have our doors to talk about. It seems the same way. He has one stage where he's just entered and one where he's about to attack and you need to shut the door. The problem is these 2 pesky cameras here. From this position, Ennard actually has 2 possible movements. Yes, he can get ready to attack, but he can also go to one of these closets instead. This means that, unlike with the vent, when you hear a movement noise, you can't be positive that Ennard is about to attack, so you often have to check your cameras. It's even worse once he gets to a closet though, since from there he actually has 3 possible movements. He can either go back to the position at the start of the door, go to the position where he's about to attack, or in some rare cases, retreat altogether, which always scares the hell out of me. I began frantically checking every camera trying to understand where the hell he just went, which burns through power. So that's pretty much the night. You listen and close the door or vent when he's about to attack. Seems harmless enough, right? Well, there's a problem. 3 of them to be exact. 3 problems that completely ruin this night. Let's go over them in ascending order of what were they thinking this. Starting off, Jesus, this night is strict. The power here is insane. Look how fast it drains while I'm doing completely nothing. You wanna know what the world record for most power remaining at the end of the night is? 15%. And remember, that 15% goes by in about 40 seconds, assuming you are doing absolutely nothing. Now, is this a problem? No, not necessarily. I understand this is a secret night, it's supposed to be hard, and the only feasible way to do that is to make the power more strict. I actually like how it incentivizes listening way more, since you can't always use your cameras to check where Ennard is. However, my issue comes with the fact that with so little power, the night becomes way more based on luck. What I mean is, let's use a pretty common example. Ennard makes his way to one of your doors. He then begins to fail movement opportunity after movement opportunity, forcing you to keep your door closed while you wait for him to finally succeed. This naturally starts to burn through power, and eventually the night just becomes unwinnable because Ennard stood still for too long. This is how 90% of your attempts at the night are gonna go. Very rarely does it feel like you died due to player error. More often it feels like the game just told you no. My absolute favorite example of this has to be this iconic DJ Sturf video where he's trying to give a tutorial on how to beat the night. Ennard makes his way to one of the doors, and then stays there for 1 minute and 40 seconds. Yeah. He lost 28% power in this exchange through literally no fault of his own, then proceeded to lose the night at 4 AM. Hilarious. So yeah, already not great, but remember, this is the least egregious of the 3 issues. Up next we have silent movements. Can we get like a thunder sound effect? This one's pretty easy to understand. I mean, just look at the name. Basically, every time Ennard moves, there's a 1 in 25 chance that a sound effect just won't play. If you're wondering why, it's because the volume of each sound is determined by a line of code that chooses a random number between 0 and 24. Whatever number it picks, that's the volume the sound effect will play at. Usually, rolling for a 0 is accounted for in code like this, but in this case, it just wasn't. Now, whether this means that silent movements are a programming error or something intentionally left in to make the night harder, I don't know. What I do know is that it was a bad choice. This basically makes it where you have no idea if Ennard hasn't made a sound in a while because he just keeps failing movement opportunities, or if he hasn't made a sound in a while because he just got a silent movement. This incentivizes you to check your cameras more often to confirm where he is, which completely breaks the night for me. I feel like you were already incentivized to check cameras because he can go to multiple different areas. Was this really necessary? All this does is make you paranoid, constantly checking the cameras because there's always a chance the game just lied to you. This becomes an even bigger problem when you remember the first issue of the night because while checking cameras, you use power, which in case you forgot, we don't have a lot of. This makes this night insufferable. Genuinely, it just becomes pure luck. You have to pray Ennard doesn't just stand at a door. You have to pray he doesn't silent move at the wrong time. You have to pray for so much to go right to the point that executing a strategy isn't the hard part of the night. It's luck. So you may be asking, what could be worse than that? Well, my dear viewer, it's quite simple. When you die in this night, where do you think it sends you? If you guess back to the start of Ennard's night, congratulations, you have better ideas than Scott Kaufman, because that's not what he decided. No. He decided to place it back at the start of Funtime Foxy's area. Now, in case you don't remember, let me recap what you now have to do to get back to Ennard's night. You must now make your way to an empty Funtime auditorium, listen to Hand Unit and Baby Talk, enter a number combo that again is already hard to do, listen to Baby Talk some more, then go to this dark room, and then go to the right and start the night up again. Now that might not have sounded so bad. I mean, what, that's like 2 minutes max? Calm down. No! You don't understand. With how much you'll be dying on this night, you need a good checkpoint to not instill tedium. This is the dumbest thing ever. I genuinely have no clue what Scott was thinking here. Maybe it's to make sure you can still access the normal ending in case you change your mind? But in that case, just place it at the start of the dark room. That way, it would take like 5 seconds to get back to Ennard, and you could still go to the regular ending if you wanted to. This just makes it annoying. This is also why I died on the keypad so many times, because while doing it once isn't that bad, doing it after every single attempt is just straight up ridiculous. This is why I consider the awful checkpoint system to be this night's biggest flaw, because it makes you not even want to try again. If this checkpoint was placed better, you could easily just brute force it until you get good enough luck. But because of this, it makes each loss feel like a huge punishment, which is stupid. The punishment of starting over should be enough. Forcing me to replay an extra 2 minutes of your game for literally no reason is just plain dumb. So yeah, that's the night. It's basic, takes forever since you'll only really be dying during the last 30 seconds or so, and is way too reliant on luck. It honestly has nothing good about it. Or does it? See, while this video may be called my least favorite night in the FNAF series, simply going over its flaws doesn't seem fair to me. This is a review first and foremost, and therefore, every aspect of the night should be taken into consideration, and that includes its lore. Now, this does mean that I have to talk about FNAF lore, a rabbit hole I really don't have time to get into, but for the sake of this video, I'll try, only keeping things to the main points. Okay, so basically all you need to know is There's this guy, William Afton. He has some kids, but right now only 2 of them matter. This one and this one. The girl, Elizabeth, one day gets too close to Circus Baby and gets killed. This is because Circus Baby was made to kill children, and yet William Afton did not anticipate Circus Baby killing his children. Okay, so now Circus Baby is like half sentient and half possessed by Elizabeth. You got that? Okay, so years later, Michael Afton, the other kid of William, goes to the abandoned Circus Babies and becomes allies with Baby. But it turns out she was lying to us, and her plan was to lure us to the scooping room, scoop out our insides, then pilot us as a sort of meat mech suit to get out of the underground facility they've been stuck in. You ever say something and realize just how ridiculous it sounds? Anyway, that's what happens during the main canon ending. We get tricked by Baby and go to the scooping room. However, during the secret ending, we don't do this. We go to the hidden room, and this causes Baby and the rest of the animatronics to get just a bit mad at us. This is why they're trying to kill us during the secret night, as a last-ditch effort to get out. Alright, lore explanation over. Now let's get to the actual night. Throughout the night, you can hear voice lines from Ennard using Baby's voice. They start fairly innocently, with things like, "Why didn't you trust me?" and "I thought you liked me." Slowly, though, they shift. They begin to stop using I or me, now using us or we to represent the rest of the animatronics. We don't want to hurt anyone, and we need you so that we can leave. They begin to get more desperate. You must let us inside the room, and if they find us like this, we won't be able to try again. You really get a sense for the fact that this is a last-ditch effort to get out of this place, and that they know they're not getting this chance again. Then, at around 4 AM, they pull out their most desperate move. Remember how I said that Baby is kind of half-possessed by Elizabeth Afton? Well, here's where that matters. Just take a listen. That's right. As one final attempt to simply lure you out of the room, they put on Elizabeth's voice. Your own dead sister. Now this is incredibly messed up, but that's not even the worst of it. The animatronics are actually intending to do even worse. See, it's revealed in the Custom Night Max Mode ending that the animatronics thought Michael Afton was actually William, his father. So, from the animatronics' perspective, they aren't putting on the voice of this guy's dead sister to lure him out. They're putting on the voice of his dead daughter. That's why she says things like, "I know it was an accident," to reassure William that even though the robot he built directly got her killed, she doesn't hold it against him. I love this. This is honestly probably the best lore in any FNAF night ever, at least from what I can remember, and boosts this night by at least 2 or 3 points out of 10 single-handedly. Too bad this night still sucks, though. Yeah, as much as I like the lore here, it's kind of impossible to make up for gameplay this atrocious. But hey, credit where credit is due here. They got the story incredibly right, and I didn't want to take that away from them. So yeah, that's Ennard's night. Overall, would I say it's a good or bad night? Bro, were you paying attention? Of course I think it's bad. It's way too luck reliant, it's too hard, silent movements suck, the checkpoint system can kiss my ass, all things that just completely ruin this night that, in concept, I like. I like how it's much more traditional than the rest of Sister Location, and again, the lore is unironically good here, but besides that, I really see no reason to play this night. Unless, of course, you're trying to unlock the custom night, which for some reason is locked behind beating this night. Which sucks because I actually love the custom night, it's probably my favorite in the series, and yet you can't make it there without going through torture first. I guess that means you get a good reward for beating the night, but I don't know, man, I think I would have just preferred if this night were removed altogether. And that goes for both the secret and main night. I mean, come on, just call the game 4 Nights at Freddy's, no one has to know. You wanna know something? I'm not ashamed to admit this. Literally the only reason I beat Ennard's night was for this video. I'm not joking. It didn't feel right talking about a night that I hadn't even completed, so I went and grinded it out for like 2 hours straight. It was awful. And when I finally did win, it didn't even feel good. Earlier in the night, Ennard had stayed at one of my doors for like 30 seconds, so I ran out of power with like 10 seconds left in the night. And because he now moves every 0.5 seconds, I was fairly justified in assuming that I was dead. I set down my phone, went to restart the timer I was using, looked back, it said shift complete, I freaked out. Honestly, I wish I had my reaction to beating the night recorded, because it was something. Mostly just confusion. But yeah, if I take a year break from your game and only come back so I can justifiably complain about it, that's not exactly good. I wish I had more to say, but there's no deeper meaning to tie this to. I just think this night is bad. I would say something dumb like, oh, I hope Scott learned his lesson from this and does better in the future, but not only was this game released back in 2016, but he doesn't even make the franchise anymore, so there's no point. That being said, I hope you guys still enjoyed hearing me ramble. I had a lot more to say about this night than I thought I would. I was worried this video concept wouldn't even crack the 10-minute mark, and now look at it. I'm happy to finally be back uploading videos, and I hope you guys are glad I'm back too. Until next time, I hope you have a good day, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. You remember in my FNAF tutorials video when I said this was the best and worst night in the series? Jesus Christ, what was I thinking? It's clearly just the worst.